The law is supposed to bring order to chaos. But what happens when the law is the chaos? We've uncovered 48 real, enforceable food laws from around the globe that are so bizarre, they defy all logic. From criminally suspicious salmon to legally mandated cheese on pie, these aren't just historical quirks. They are genuine rules that will make you question the very nature of government. By the end of this, your idea of what's legal will be completely turned upside down. 1. In Japan, preparing the pufferfish, or fugu, is governed by a law that reads like a life-or-death exam. The fish contains a toxin so deadly that a single mistake in its preparation can be fatal. As a result, only chefs with a special government license can legally serve it. The final exam to get this license is the stuff of legend. An apprentice must prepare the fish and then eat their own work. It's the ultimate test of confidence, where a passing grade means you get your license, and a failing grade means you don't. 2. In Chicago, the party doesn't stop when the kitchen closes, but it legally has to. An ordinance makes it illegal for an establishment to serve alcohol if it is no longer serving food. This sensible-sounding rule has created a late-night theater of the absurd, with bartenders frantically microwaving frozen snacks or keeping a single pot of chili warm just to legally pour another drink. It ensures that your last call for a beer is always accompanied by a legally mandated and often questionable midnight snack. 3. In 2011, the French government identified a new threat to its cultural identity: ketchup. A law was passed that strictly limits the use of the condiment in school cafeterias, all in the name of preserving the integrity of traditional French cuisine. Students are now permitted to have ketchup with only one meal: French fries. And since fries are only served once a week, it creates a wonderfully absurd scenario where a nation is protecting its culinary heritage by rationing a tomato sauce, except when it's paired with deep-fried potatoes. 4. According to a Scottish law from 1457, your home is not just your castle, it's a potential military supply depot for the crown. The ancient statute makes it illegal to refuse a monarch's request to use your house to store food and drink for the army. This was a deadly serious provision to ensure Scotland was always ready for an English invasion. Though unlikely to be enforced today, it means your pantry is technically, and legally, part of Scotland's national defense strategy. 5. An old Pennsylvania law suggests that legislators were once forced to imagine a truly horrifying beverage and then ban it from existence. An obscure blue law makes it illegal to create or sell a drink that is a mix of beer and milk. We don't know who was attempting to order this nightmare concoction, but someone clearly felt that this combination was an offense against nature itself and had to be stopped. It's a rare law that protects you from a culinary crime you never even knew was possible. 6. Sweden approaches many things with a profound sense of order, and that apparently includes restaurant menus. It's strictly illegal to use misleading names for dishes, and they are not kidding around. In one famous case, a chef was fined for ironically calling a vegan patty a beef burger, in quotation marks. The court ruled that irony is no defense against potential customer confusion. In Sweden, a joke is a joke, but a menu is a legally binding document. 7. In the early 90s, Singapore's brand new, multi-billion-dollar subway system met its greatest foe: a simple piece of chewing gum. When vandals discovered that sticking their used wads on the train's door sensors could cause mass disruption, the government didn't just create a new fine. They took a far more radical step. In 1992, they declared a national war on the product itself, banning the import and sale of gum across the entire country. The iron grip has loosened slightly to allow for therapeutic gum from a pharmacist, but otherwise the ban holds. It's a case of solving a minor annoyance with a sledgehammer, but it resulted in the cleanest public spaces in the world. 8. Leave it to the British to write a law that sounds straight out of a comedy sketch. A 1986 act makes it an offense to handle a salmon in suspicious circumstances, which begs the obvious question: what exactly does a guilty fish look like? The actual purpose was to give police a straightforward tool to combat rampant poaching. But the genius phrasing transforms a simple crime into a low-stakes spy thriller, where the main suspect is always the salmon. 9. This isn't just a law. It feels like a personal grudge written into the city code. In Columbus, Georgia, you cannot sell peanuts after sunset, but only on Wednesdays. You can almost picture a single, influential city councilman who was repeatedly woken up by one specific, noisy peanut vendor and decided to craft a legislative sniper rifle aimed at one night of the week. It's a beautifully petty piece of legislation that feels less like public policy and more like a personal vendetta. 10. On paper, a Tennessee law making it a crime to possess or sell a hollow log sounds like the government is getting tough on squirrels. But the real target was far more intoxicating. During Prohibition, the go-to smuggling device for moonshiners was a hollowed-out log, perfect for concealing jars of illicit liquor. So the state didn't just go after the criminals, they went after their equipment. It was a brilliant legal hack. If you can't always catch the bootlegger, just outlaw their favorite hiding spot. 11. In the township of Haddon, New Jersey, there exists a law that makes you question what kind of bizarre romantic gesture went so horribly wrong. It is illegal to approach someone of the opposite sex and offer them a pickle. Not candy, not a flower, but specifically a pickle. While the law is a fossil from a forgotten era, it remains an incredibly specific restriction on courtship. It suggests a forgotten local drama where someone's attempt at a pickle-based pickup line was so disastrous, the city had to legally intervene for the good of all. 12. If you're planning a prank in New Orleans, make sure it doesn't involve an unannounced pizza. The city has an ordinance that makes it illegal to have a pizza delivered to an unsuspecting person's address. This law is a direct counterattack against a very specific type of practical joke that ends with someone arguing with the delivery driver over a supreme pizza they never asked for. It's the law's way of officially declaring that sticking your friends with a food bill isn't a prank, it's just a nuisance. 13. Welcome to Gainesville, Georgia, the self-proclaimed poultry capital of the world, where they take their fried chicken so seriously they've made it illegal to eat it with a fork. This isn't just an old, forgotten rule. It's a living, breathing piece of city marketing. Created in 1961 as a publicity stunt, the city has gleefully arrested violators over the years, including a tourist in her 90s. She was, of course, promptly pardoned by the mayor, who used the opportunity to reinforce the city's culinary creed. It's less a law and more a brilliant interactive billboard. 14. New York City is full of strange historical leftovers, including a law that forbids walking around on a Sunday with an ice cream cone in your pocket. This wasn't designed to prevent a laundry disaster. It was a clever workaround to the state's strict blue laws, which banned the sale of certain items on Sundays. People would buy the cone on Saturday and carry it in their pocket on Sunday to enjoy legally. Lawmakers eventually caught on and closed this bizarre, sticky loophole for good. 15. In one New Jersey town, the simple act of enjoying your food too enthusiastically can land you in trouble. A local ordinance makes it illegal to slurp your soup in a public establishment. This law takes a firm stand against the audible appreciation of a good broth, turning a common sound into a punishable offense. One can only assume it was passed by a city council that had reached its absolute breaking point with a particularly loud diner and decided to solve the problem for everyone, forever. 16. The city that literally invented Mardi Gras in America has declared a bizarre war on confetti. In Mobile, Alabama, during the nation's oldest and wildest street party, it is illegal to sell or throw the stuff. The same goes for silly string. The official logic is to simplify cleanup, but it creates the strange spectacle of a city hosting a massive, chaotic celebration that must be conducted with the tidiness of an office party. It's managed chaos, planned by what feels like a very anxious accountant. 17. The term baker's dozen isn't a quaint tradition. It was born out of pure medieval terror. An old English law known as the assize of bread and ale levied brutal punishments, from fines to public floggings, on any baker caught selling an underweight loaf. To avoid any possibility of a mistake, bakers started throwing in a 13th loaf for every dozen ordered. That extra piece of bread wasn't a sign of generosity. It was a form of legal insurance against the very real threat of medieval justice. 18. The word chocolate isn't a suggestion. In the United States, it's a legally protected term with a strict definition. According to the FDA, for something to be labeled milk chocolate, it must contain a minimum of 10% chocolate liquor and 12% milk solids. If a product fails to meet this precise recipe, it cannot legally use the word. This is why you see phrases like chocolatey or made with chocolatey chips. They're not being creative. They're navigating a legal minefield laid out by the government. 19. Wisconsin's devotion to its dairy industry once led to a full-blown oleo war, and the laws it produced were ruthless. For decades, it was illegal for restaurants to serve yellow-colored margarine as a substitute for butter. This was a direct assault by the dairy lobby to ensure their product reigned supreme. Some states took it even further, requiring margarine to be dyed an unappetizing shade of pink. Wisconsin was the last holdout, only repealing its anti-margarine laws in 1967 after a long, greasy battle for the soul of America's toast. 20. In Wisconsin, an apple pie is never served alone. It often has a legally mandated chaperone made of cheese. While an old state law requiring cheese with pie is no longer enforced with fines, it was a masterstroke of lobbying by the state's all-powerful dairy industry. The cultural expectation is now so strong that serving a naked slice of pie is a quiet act of rebellion. It's not just a dessert preference. It's a delicious, dairy-fueled statement of identity that was once written into law. 21. In many countries, bringing a dog into a restaurant is a major violation. In France, it's just another Tuesday. French law and culture are remarkably accommodating to canine dining companions. It's completely normal to see a well-behaved dog sitting at a cafe table with its owner, and the health codes are structured to allow for it. For many tourists, the sight of a poodle patiently waiting for its owner to finish an espresso is a culture shock, a beautiful and slightly surreal glimpse into a more dog-friendly world. 22. Most emergency preparedness plans involve batteries, water, and canned goods. But in Utah, they've added a wholesome twist. A state law mandates that milk must be included in the emergency provisions for any public institution. So, in the event of an earthquake or blizzard, while the rest of us are fighting over the last can of beans, the citizens of Utah will be calmly enjoying a state-mandated glass of milk. It's perhaps the most civilized and slightly baffling approach to surviving a catastrophe. 23. In Washington state, the temptation to snag a piece of fruit hanging over a fence is met with the charmingly formal weight of the law. It's illegal to pick fruit from someone else's tree, a crime sometimes referred to as larceny of fruit. While this was designed to protect the state's huge commercial orchards from theft, it elevates the simple act of swiping an apple to the level of a Wild West crime. Forget cattle rustling. In Washington, you can become a hardened fruit outlaw. 24. For over a century, the French government acted as the personal brand manager for a long-dead emperor. For a very long time, it was illegal in France to name a pig Napoleon. This law was a direct attempt to shield the legacy of Napoleon Bonaparte from being associated with a farm animal. Though it's no longer on the books, it remains a perfect example of national pride, reaching into the most absurd corners of life, creating a legal firewall between a national hero and the barnyard. 25. The phrase, "There's no such thing as a free lunch," wasn't just a clever saying. It was a business model so effective it had to be outlawed. In the 19th century, saloons offered free lunches of intensely salty foods like ham and crackers. The goal wasn't generosity. It was to make patrons so thirsty they'd buy round after round of beer. As the anti-alcohol movement grew, states passed laws banning these free lunches, officially ending one of the most brilliant and dehydrating marketing scams in American history. 26. Maryland has a law that sounds more like a moral commandment than a legal statute. It is illegal to mistreat an oyster. The beautiful ambiguity of the law is its genius. What precisely counts as mistreatment? Serving it with the wrong sauce? Shucking it too aggressively? Whispering insults to it before you eat it? The rule was likely meant to regulate harvesting practices, but the phrasing makes you want to apologize to your appetizer before you dig in. 27. In the hyper-manicured town of Carmel by the Sea, California, a dripping ice cream cone was once considered a public nuisance worthy of a legal ban. For years, it was illegal to eat ice cream on a public sidewalk, a rule designed to keep the picturesque streets pristine. The ordinance became so famous that when Clint Eastwood was elected mayor in 1986, one of his first acts was to heroically repeal it. It was a victory for dessert lovers everywhere, and a sign that even in the cleanest towns, a little mess is worth it. 28. There was a time when buying shoes came with a small dose of radiation, and the government had to step in to stop it. Many mid-century shoe stores had fluoroscopes, which were X-ray machines that let customers see the bones in their feet inside new shoes. Once the dangers became clear, these devices were banned. Nevada still has a law on the books specifically forbidding the use of X-ray equipment for shoe fitting, a legislative fossil from a time when getting a new pair of loafers was a dangerously futuristic experience. 29. Some laws solve big problems. This one from Little Rock, Arkansas, solves a very, very small one. It is illegal to honk your car horn at a sandwich shop after 9 p.m. Not just any restaurant, specifically a place that sells sandwiches. This law paints a vivid picture of a problem so specific, it's hilarious. Someone, somewhere, was apparently so overcome with a late-night craving for a hoagie that they laid on their horn, and the city of Little Rock decided, never again. 30. Houston, Texas has a law making it illegal to sell Limburger cheese on a Sunday. But the truly baffling part is what's banned along with it. Rice. The two items have absolutely nothing in common, yet they are joined together in this bizarre, one-day-a-week prohibition. It's as if the city council wrote down 100 different food items on slips of paper, drew 2 from a hat, and decided to make their sale illegal for 24 hours. The logic is a complete mystery. 31. An old ordinance in Pocatello, Idaho, set an incredibly high bar for romantic gestures. According to the legend, it was illegal for a suitor to give his beloved a box of candy that weighed less than 50 pounds. This law transforms a sweet gift into an act of serious physical commitment, one that might require a dolly to deliver. It's a hilarious go big or go home philosophy of love, where affection is measured not in carrots, but in sheer, overwhelming tonnage of chocolate. 32. In Massachusetts, they don't just prefer their clam chowder without tomatoes, they've legally mandated it. A state law makes it a crime to add tomatoes to what is officially designated as New England clam chowder. The proposed penalty for this culinary treason was the forfeiture of your clams. This is more than just a recipe. It's a fiercely protected piece of regional identity. Adding tomatoes isn't just a different taste. In the eyes of the law, it's a full-blown food felony. 33. Iowa's loyalty to butter is so intense, they've legally classified its main competitor as a criminal fraud. A state law refers to margarine not as a substitute, but as counterfeit butter, as if it were a poorly forged $20 bill. To enforce this, any restaurant serving the imposter spread was required to display a prominent sign of shame, declaring, "We serve imitation butter." It's a law that doesn't just regulate food, it assigns it a criminal record. 34. Oregon is one of only 2 states where it's illegal to pump your own gas, a quirk most people know. But the law's reach extends even further into roadside convenience. At some state-run rest stops, even the vending machines are off-limits to the public and can only be operated by an attendant. The original laws were about creating jobs and ensuring safety, but they've evolved into a system where you need professional assistance not just to fuel your car, but also to buy a bag of pretzels. 35. Long before the internet gave us email scams, America had its original counterfeit industry, and it was headquartered in Connecticut. Peddlers from the state became infamous for selling fake nutmegs, painstakingly carved from worthless blocks of wood. The fraud was so rampant that wooden nutmeg became a common phrase for any swindle, forcing the state to enact some of the nation's first consumer protection laws. It was America's first great battle against knockoff products, and it was fought over a kitchen spice. 36. In Sardinia, Italy, there is a legendary cheese called casu marzu that defies all modern food safety laws. It's a sheep milk cheese that is deliberately infested with live insect larvae. The maggots digest the cheese, fermenting it into a soft, pungent cream. It's a revered delicacy, but the EU has banned its sale due to the obvious risk of the larvae surviving digestion and setting up camp in your intestines. This has pushed the world's most dangerous cheese onto the black market, turning a snack into a thrilling, illicit transaction. 37. In Canada, the government has decided that your breakfast isn't quite good enough on its own, so they've legally mandated some improvements. It is illegal there to sell margarine unless it's fortified with specific vitamins and dyed a particular shade of yellow. The same goes for milk. This is the nutritional equivalent of a parent sneaking vegetables into a kid's mac and cheese, but on a national scale. It's public health by decree, ensuring your toast spread is government approved before it hits your plate. 38. In Louisiana, crawfish are more than just a meal. They're a way of life, and the law protects them accordingly. The state has a specific crime on the books for crawfish theft, stealing the crustaceans from a farm or commercial trap. The penalties are surprisingly severe, with the potential for significant fines and even jail time. It sends a clear message. In Louisiana, you can mess with a lot of things, but you do not mess with a man's crawfish supply. 39. An old Texas blue law sounds like it was written by someone who was deeply offended by a cheese plate. On the books, it is illegal to sell Limburger cheese on a Sunday. This famously pungent cheese was apparently deemed too much of an aromatic disturbance for a day of rest and piety. The thought that a specific cheese could be singled out as legally inappropriate for one day of the week is a perfect relic from an era when the law concerned itself with both your soul and your sense of smell. 40. If you're running a food truck in a major Chinese city, there are invisible walls you cannot cross. It is illegal for street vendors to operate within a 100-meter radius of any primary or secondary school. The government's goal is to steer children toward healthier food choices by making it slightly harder to get their hands on deep-fried squid after class. It's a public health initiative that has effectively created a government-enforced junk food moat around the nation's schools. 41. For most of the 20th century, singing "Happy Birthday" in a public place was technically an act of copyright infringement. The song was privately owned by music publisher Warner Chappell, which raked in millions in licensing fees. This is why restaurants invented their own bizarre, off-key birthday anthems to avoid getting a bill. It took a massive class action lawsuit, finally settled in 2015, to wrestle the song away from its corporate owners and release it into the public domain. It was a legal battle for your right to party. 42. In 1932, the Australian military officially declared war on its own bird population, and the birds won. Facing a plague of 20,000 emus that were destroying farmland, the government deployed soldiers armed with machine guns in what became known as the Great Emu War. The campaign was a comical disaster. The emus proved to be surprisingly resilient and masterful at dodging gunfire. After weeks of humiliation, the army withdrew in defeat. It was a humbling lesson that sometimes a fence is mightier than a machine gun. 43. In Oklahoma, the law provides a powerful defense against your most annoying friends. It is a misdemeanor to take a bite out of another person's hamburger without their permission. While this is likely covered under broader property laws, its specificity makes it a legendary piece of legislation. It is the ultimate legal shield against that one person who asks for just a taste and then performs an act of culinary piracy on your lunch. In Oklahoma, your burger's personal space is legally protected. 44. For over 500 years, Germany hasn't just been brewing beer, it's been doing it according to the law. The Reinheitsgebot, or the German Beer Purity Law of 1516, is one of the world's oldest food regulations. It originally dictated that beer could only contain 3 ingredients: water, barley, and hops. Yeast was added to the list once its role was understood. While modern laws are more complex, the spirit of the Reinheitsgebot endures, making German beer a product of a centuries-old commitment to quality control. 45. Your dream of a pizza descending from the sky into your open arms is currently grounded by a mountain of federal bureaucracy. While drone delivery is technologically possible, the Federal Aviation Administration has wrapped the concept in red tape. Getting a commercial drone delivery service certified is an incredibly complex and costly process. It's a perfect snapshot of the modern world. We have the technology to make food fly, but it's stuck in a holding pattern, waiting for the government to finish its paperwork. 46. There appears to be a silent, dessert-based Cold War happening between Kansas and Wisconsin. While Wisconsin law once demanded cheese on apple pie, an ordinance in Topeka, Kansas, makes it illegal to top a slice of cherry pie with a scoop of ice cream. There is no known historical reason for this attack on a beloved combination. It's just a clean, baffling rule that suggests the city's founders drew a line in the sand, declaring that the simple perfection of cherry pie shall not be corrupted by the joy of ice cream. 47. Some laws are born from tragedy. Others, apparently, are born from pure, unexplained weirdness. In Marion, Ohio, it is illegal to eat a donut while walking backward. There is no historical context for this, no legend of a pastry-fueled catastrophe. Was there a rash of citizens moonwalking into traffic, glazed donut in hand? A synchronized breakfast routine that went horribly wrong? We'll never know. But it remains on the books as a monument to a problem that seemingly never existed. 48. For over 50 years, the United States has maintained a Cold War with Scotland over a single crucial ingredient: sheep's lung. Authentic haggis is completely banned from import, not because of the taste, but because the USDA officially classifies livestock lungs as inedible for humans. This single bureaucratic decision has created a permanent culinary blockade, forcing generations of Scottish Americans to eat an inferior, lungless version of their national dish. It's a decades-long standoff built on one forbidden organ. So, it's clear that when given the power, humanity will write a rule for literally anything. Now, you have that power. In the comments, tell me. What single food would you ban from existence, and what is its unforgivable crime? I want to see your best arguments, and if your brain is still buzzing from this legal madness, show some support by hitting like and subscribing for more.